So I didn't even know this was coming until I found this terrible article, but on the 6th of October, they're releasing a 4K Blu Ray for $300. I pre ordered it instantly as soon as I read this article because I like that movie. I think it's visually a very beautiful movie, and I like the story. I think the Battle of Thermopylae is a very interesting battle in history, and while the movie didn't nail it, it's still pretty cool to watch. There was actually a lot more people than 300, but that story isn't as interesting. It's much more interesting to watch 300 people fight off an army. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if anybody thought this was an actual historical representation of the Spartans, I mean, come on. They're never true. Never fully true. Gladiator, Braveheart, all these movies, all great movies, all based on, some kernels of truth here and there, but they're not historically accurate in some instances. But who cares? It's all about having fun at the movies and having fun watching the movie. That's my opinion. Unless a movie explicitly says based on a true story, I don't care if they take liberties. I just want good cinema, which is all I care about. And I believe 300 delivered that. Also, 300 is based on a comic book, not the actual story. So it's based on a comic book that's based on the story, which also is not that representative of the actual battle. But nonetheless, still a good comic, still a good movie. One I think is worth checking out if you haven't seen it. But apparently, even this movie wouldn't be able to be released today because it's intensely, in all caps, problematic. While 300 is getting a 4K release, it is important to look back at the film and the comic critically for the phobic and ableist portrayals that it has. So apparently even 300 is racist for some reason. Don't know why. Oh wait, I know why. Because the Greeks are of a white skin, and then of course the Persians, well, I don't really think I have to say much more. Because of that, this movie is problematic and xenophobic. Because, well, apparently it's pro-imperialism. I don't quite get that one. Don't understand how it's pro-imperialism. Okay? You have the Spartans who were invaded by an empire. Were they supposed to lay down and let the Persian Empire take them over? Is that what you're saying? The context of this article is really a stretch. It's like Mr. Fantastic style, trying to stretch across the room. I don't understand it, but they're pushing the narrative here. 300's depiction of good versus evil is overtly racist by having what? Be inherently good, while people of color are inherently bad. It also reinforces the growing untrue notion that foreigners entering a white country are to be feared and attacked. Harmful representation like that can support the false notion that it's right to fear immigrants, especially immigrants of color. The film's harmful depiction of race promotes the idea that racist ideologies like this are a way to protect a morally superior way of life. What kind of an ass watches 300 and gets that kind of depiction of the movie? And this is these people that write these articles, they go in and they watch movies like this and they're just, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say these things about 300. Okay. First off, these are like Greeks. Are they even really like Caucasian? I don't understand how this works. I guess they are, according to this writer. I don't know. But this is a real thing. This did, while it's not 100% accurate in the movie, this is a real time in history that happened. The Persians did invade and they did win. Well, they didn't win, but they won that battle. Though they put up a hell of a fight. I would say, well, some people would argue that it did set a lot of morale because it showed, hey, they're not so tough if, this small group could stand against them. It definitely inspired a lot of people, which I think was the point of the battle in a lot of ways. It's just funny. They even talk about this because there's that scene where they're like showing the babies. If the babies aren't 100% perfect, they throw them off the mountaintop, which I don't think is true. Now, I'd say most of the children that weren't good enough didn't make it through they had this whole, I forget the training program. They did show that in the movie. They took children out of their homes at 7, and from 7 they went through like an intense military training life. And I would say if they didn't make it through that, they weren't helped. That for sure was survival of the fittest. Though I think there's disputes over the children being thrown off the mountain thing. I don't think that that's 100% accurate, but it was a pretty intense scene. Apparently this is a terrible scene for this. I mean, you have so many brutal movies out there, like Saw, and what was that Hostel movie? Like, they don't complain about movies like that, but some scene like this that's meant to kind of, show how brutal and intense that society was, and I would say it was pretty effective. I mean, they have to find a way to do it for that movie, and I'd say that movie really did portray how intense life was for kids in that world. But that's a problem. I mean, why can't these people just shut up and enjoy stuff? I'll never quite understand it. But I'm not going to read over this whole article. It's full of all kinds of nonsense like that. They say that it's, every kind of istophobic. You can see it right here, saying that Xerxes wanted to bang Leonidas and stuff, and apparently that's a problem. There's a lot of stretches. I don't quite get it. I just think that this is ridiculous. Every movie from the past is a problem. I'm sure that they're going to push for a trigger warning on this movie. I didn't get any of the themes that they're trying to say that happened in this film. It's just a joke at this point. I did want to touch on one other thing. I saw that Disney has ended the 20th Century Fox brand. So they have gotten rid of that. They've rebranded everything, changing 20th Century Fox Television to 20th Television. It cuts out Century and Fox. They've also rebranded a couple of other things. They're taking the name Fox out of everything. This is only a matter of time. I mean, it sucks, but why would they keep 20th Century Fox? Of course, Fox is still a brand. Fox News, which I don't think they owned, is still under that brand. So it just makes sense that they would cut Fox out. It's just kind of weird because 20th Century Fox, they've been around for a long time. They've made really big classic movies and television series. So it's just kind of sad to see the name die, and that's what's happening. The name Fox is being dropped from everything. This has quietly been happening for a while. I've seen the new logo kind of looks the same, except it's like 20th Studios and stuff. So it's strange. It's strange to see, but anyway, it is kind of weird because like it says here, 20th Century Studios was still kind of the name. That's what I'd seen, but it appears maybe they're changing that. Not sure, but either way, the name Fox is gone, and it's kind of crazy. Anyway, that's it, guys. 300 4K release. Of course, not able to release without a little bit of butt hurt. And then I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was kind of sad to see the name Fox die. They made a lot of good movies, despite what you might think about them. A lot of good movies came from that studio. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.